Hey guys, sorry I was muted for a second. I'm going to cover the Tara Grinstead case today, which is going to trial really soon. Actually, let me look. I think it's like mid-May when it's going to trial, but this case happened in like 2005, and there was really not a lot of updates for a while, and finally it broke open years later, which I'm trying to find a date. I'll find it later. Okay. Sorry, y'all. Drinking my. Hey, Lexus. I'm gonna drink my Red Bull still. I was up early this morning, taking my kid to school, and then sat on the couch for a little bit and dozed off. So I haven't even got through my Red Bull yet. So if I have to stop and take a few sips, don't mind me. I'm gonna like wait a couple minutes until I like really get into it. Late January, early February. Oh, when's like the trial? Like where? Oh, you sent me the thing. If they're doing jury selection May something, right? You sent it to me, so I'll find it. I'll go back. Oh, here it is. A Twitter post. Jurors are reporting for jury duty in the Tara Grinstead trial on Monday, 5/3/22. So like a couple days. Like 4 days. Is the trial actually starting then, or they're just picking a jury? I think they're just picking a jury because let's read the questions they're going to ask the jurors real quick. Let me take a sip of my drink. Hold up. Been waiting a long time. Yeah, I'm sure. Since 2005. It's like so long ago. So it says 800 jurors. Oh, God. Hold on. I have to turn off like my 70 alarms. So I set an alarm. I'm like a super panicky person, and I set an alarm like every hour just in case I happen to like fall asleep or something like that, and I have to pick my kid up at school. So I just like set alarms. Like I have literally like 7 of them just in the day because I'm afraid I like fall asleep and won't wake up or something. All right, so the jurors are reporting for jury duty on Monday, 5/3/22. After almost 17 years in her murder, maybe we will finally learn the truth. Here are some of the questions potential jurors will have to answer. Do you or anyone you know related by any degree personally know or had any contact with or have any relationship to the defendant in this case, Ryan Duke, which you'll find out about him when I get into it, or any member of his family or any of his friends? To your knowledge, do you have any close personal friends or relatives that know Ryan Duke or any contact or relationship of any kind with him? If yes, please explain. In this case, Mr. Duke is being represented by attorneys Ashley Merchant and John Merchant of the Merchant Law Firm in Marietta, and John S. Gibbs, 3 of Atlanta. And they're doing this pro bono, right, Alexis? Alexis is really the mastermind at this case, and she's been asking me to cover it, so I'll probably be asking her a lot of questions throughout the thing. But I'm pretty sure his attorneys are doing it pro bono for him, and they believe that he's innocent. And the prosecutors in this case are Cordell Judicial Circuit Assistant District Attorney J.D. Hart, District Attorney of the TIFF Judicial Circuit. Hey, thumbs up. That's fine. No worries. Hey, Sarah. Yeah, I fell asleep too. And I woke up at like 11. Hold up. Give me a second. I woke up at like 11 and was like, oh my God, I have to like rush and get all this shit together. So I like ran and got a 20-ounce sugar-free Red Bull and just started. So it's probably going to be all over the place, honestly, but I did my best. All right. So I'll start talking about Tara. Tara Grinstead was an American high school history teacher from Osceola, Georgia, who went missing. I can see her picture hasn't changed. Sorry. This is an inside joke. American high school history teacher from Osceola, Georgia, who went missing on October 22nd, 2005, and was declared dead in 2010. So this happened like a long time ago. Here, I'll show a little picture of him real quick. I have it on my thumbnails, but she was a beauty queen. She was like really into doing beauty queen stuff. This is her. All right. Let me unshare my screen now because I'm reading off something. On February, I don't want to read this part yet because I'm going to get to that. But so there's this podcast. Yeah, sugar-free Red Bull is the best. It's my favorite. I just love the taste of it. Like sometimes it'll be like 9 o'clock at night and I'll be like ready to go to bed and I'll be like, damn, I just want a sugar-free Red Bull right now. It's like the taste of it's just so good. So there's this podcast called Up and Vanish. And so this guy, he was like a filmmaker. His name's is it, I feel like I'm gonna get it wrong. It's something Payne. I don't know if it's, hold on, I'll tell you right now. I feel like I want to say a name, but Payne Lindsay. That's it. I wanted to say a name, but I was pretty sure that was a singer that I was thinking of. Yeah, thanks, Alexis. Payne Lindsay. So he's from Georgia, I guess. I'm guessing because it sounds like his granny lives in Georgia, and he's a filmmaker, and he wanted to make a podcast about like a cold case that he could investigate. And he picks this one, and he just like really starts deep diving into it. And this is before like everything had came out, like what happened. This was like long before anyone knew what happened. And he really did a deep dive into the case. I mean, he was calling locals, he was calling law enforcement. Even his granny knew some lady who worked the pageants with Tara, and she knew all the inside details. So it's actually really good. I'm not that far into it, but so far I'm really enjoying it. But pretty sure Alexis has listened to the whole thing. So, but I got their timeline because it's really in detail, and I'll explain the stuff to you because a lot of this goes into the stuff that happened before she went missing, which is, I think, a big part of it too. So let me share my screen. I hope I'm allowed to do this. I don't know how that works if you use like another podcast website, but let's just hope that they can't strike me for this. All right, so Tara had a boyfriend named Mark Hopper, I think it was. He was in Afghanistan. He was in the army. I think it was the army. He was in Afghanistan for a while, and while he was gone, let me make sure. She was talking to this guy, Anthony Vickers, who was actually He listened to it 10 times. You went through that whole thing 10 times. It's so long. Like I got pretty far yesterday, but I still felt like I was listening all day. So Anthony Vickers was actually a student of hers who says that he had a relationship with her, but they were fairly quiet about it because he had just graduated and they didn't want anyone to know. And they began seeing each other after he graduated. This relationship lasted about 1 to 2 years and was kept a secret. The Payne Lindsay interviews him and he asks him, was it like a serious relationship? He says, yeah, I mean, he said, was it serious or like a fling? And Anthony said it was kind of like both because they were pretty serious with each other, but because they had to keep it a secret, it was kind of like a fling type thing. And that he said they spent a lot of time at her house, like to keep stuff under wraps, and he would go to her house and like watch movies a lot and stuff. Well, on March 30th, 2005, he can't get a hold of her by phone and he drives to her house and they get into an argument outside of her home and the neighbors call the police. Before Anthony can drive off, the police stop him and arrest him. And inside Tara's house is another man, Heath Dykes. So Heath Dykes is a detective for like I guess the Osceola Police Department. I could be wrong, but he's a detective. And I think he's like a little bit older than her at the time. I'm not totally sure. She was 30, so maybe not. I don't know, but uh he was a detective. He was at her house. I think that's why Anthony Vickers was freaking out so much because he knew that another man was in the house. Well, then this other guy, Sean Fitzgerald, I think his name was, he was the cop who answered the call to the house. And he goes there and he sees Heath Dyke's car there. So then shortly after that, let me see if it's on here. I don't know if they mentioned or not. She was 30, yeah. So Heath Dykes pressures Tara to go get. He was a cop for Hawkinsville. Okay, so he was a cop. Well, he was a detective. They said in the thing. So Heath Dykes pressures her to go get a restraining order against Anthony Vickers, saying that he's crazy or whatever. So she goes to the police station to file the report, and the same guy who was at her house, who answered the call, who saw Heath Dykes' car in the parking lot, was there, and she wouldn't tell him the name. Like, she wanted to file a police report, but she had to tell him the name, and she didn't want to tell him the name, and she didn't want to tell him the name because Sean Fitzgerald, I think that, or Sean Fletcher, maybe, I don't know, something with an F. That guy was friends with her boyfriend who was away in Afghanistan. So she was hesitant to tell this guy the name. Well, he promised her that he wouldn't say anything. So, and this is the part I'm a little confused about. I just found this out last night, so I have no idea why this went down. But when he asked for the name of the person that she needed a restraining order against, she says Heath Dykes. But she was supposed to go there to do it against Anthony Vickers. So, I don't know. But anyway, the cop that she reported to, who promised he wouldn't say anything, he says something to her boyfriend. And then her boyfriend comes home and like flips out on her. And then she files a report against that cop. And he gets suspended and almost loses his job for. Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, it just made no sense to me that she went there with the intention to get a restraining order against Anthony at the urge of Heath. And then she gets there, and they ask her the name, and she says, Heath Dykes instead of Anthony Vickers, which I never understood that, but whatever. So he tells the boyfriend, and the boyfriend gets mad. So I guess, I don't know if he finds out between where she writes him, but he does find out, and he gets mad at her, and she files a report, and the guy almost loses his job. So August 15th, 2005, Tara writes to Marcus Harper while he is in the Middle East. He was away at Afghanistan. Because the letter doesn't clearly convey Tara's feelings, Marcus believes Tara is ending the relationship. So then Marcus comes home, and he ends up not telling her that he came home because he assumed that their relationship was over, I guess, by this email. Then she learned from a friend on October 2nd, 2005. She learned from a friend that Marcus Harper is home from the Middle East. Tara and her mother go to the fair on October 16th, 2005. Tara and her mom go to the fair in Perry. They see Heath Dykes there. Tara spends the rest of the day with her mom in Hawkinsville. Oh, wait. I'm going the wrong way. Hold up. I'm going like left to right, and it goes down and up. So, okay. After the Anthony Vickers thing, it looks like Tara and Marcus take a trip together to St. Augustine for a beach trip. I don't know if that's... And then she writes to him in the Middle East, so maybe they went on the trip together first. Then she writes to him. And Marcus Harper comes home on September 15th. And then she finds out that he comes home on October 2nd. Wow, so she didn't know he was home all that time? All right, so she finds out he's home. Then on October 4th, 2 days later, she talks to Marcus. Tara confirms by phone with Marcus that he is home. He tells Tara that the relationship between them is over. Tara is so shocked and distraught that she requests assistance while driving home from class in Waycross. Yeah, so she has this like huge meltdown. And apparently like her neighbors had to help her. Then she goes to the fair. And then on October 18th, 2005, Tara and Marcus argue. Prior to arriving at her night class, Tara and Marcus Harper have a heated argument, which she then relates to a friend in class. She also tells another friend the following day over lunch. October 20th, Tara buys a week's worth of groceries. I don't know why that's important, but it's in here. October 21st, Tara goes shopping in the nearby town of Fitzgerald. Isn't Fitzgerald where, how close was Fitzgerald to where she lived? Like, isn't it only like 15 minutes? And didn't Ryan Dukes live in Fitzgerald? So October 22nd, 2005, Tara has pageant girls over. So she would have these like young girls come to her house, and she would style them or make up and prepare their hair for beauty pageants. She leaves to get lunch. She leaves her house to get a salad, then returns home. I think this is the day she goes missing, yeah. So the beauty pageant begins at 3 p.m. in Fitzgerald. And at that beauty pageant, she sees Malva, Payne's grandma's friend. I remember that. Payne's grandma makes some good cowboy cookies too, apparently. It was so cute. He like called his grandma, and she's like this southern grandma who has all the tea. She's like, oh yeah, I got a friend who lives in that area. Let me call them and I'll find out for you. I love grandmas like that. Have you crack it up? Like the nosy grandma who knows all the info. Tara arrives at the pageant at 4 in Fitzgerald. Tara leaves the pageant at 7:30 and heads... Well, I don't want to say that because there's rumors that... Alright, so she leaves the pageant, the Fitzgerald Theater, at 7:30, but there's rumors that she stopped and met somebody in Fitzgerald for like just a quick minute. which I thought may have been Ryan Dukes. Payne actually does he drives from the theater to Alcilla just to see how long it takes. And it only took 13 minutes or something like that. So she could have definitely done it. So 7:45, she arrives at Rhett Roberts' house, and Rhett Robert is the son of her landlord, I'm pretty sure. She had to drive. So Rhett Roberts' house is on the same street as the party she was going to in Alcilla. But you gotta drive by so she was going to a barbecue. The principal of the school's barbecue. But you had to drive by his house to get to Rhett's, who was only a couple houses down. So she goes to Rhett's house and stops in front of the home, and they talk briefly from the street before Tara heads on her way. I don't know if there was anything going on between them or whatever, if she was talking about the house. Who knows? But then she arrives at Troy Davis's house for the barbecue. She leaves Rhett Roberts' house for the barbecue at the home of Troy Davis, which is just a few houses away. So she's there from 8 to 11. She leaves at 11, and she tells people that she's leaving to watch a videotape from the pageant that day. Mind you, this videotape has never been recovered. They don't even think it exists. Troy Davis walks Tara to her car. She says her goodbyes, and she drives off. This is the last time anyone reports seeing Tara. Heath Dykes calls Tara. Now, Heath Dykes was definitely in a relationship with her because it came out later in trial that Heath Dykes' semen was on her comforter. Heath Dykes calls Tara's phone numerous times throughout the day. A black truck is seen at 7:30 p.m. A witness sees from their porch a black pickup truck in Tara's driveway at 7 p.m. Sunday evening. Hold on a second, I just want to see this. Oh, so they were... So, Alexis, do you think she was killed on the night of the 22nd or the 23rd? I always thought it was the night of the 22nd, but now it might be the 23rd, honestly. Tara's mom grows concerned. Hold on 1 second. I totally forgot to send a link out. Give me 1 second. So I guess Tara's mom couldn't get a hold of her. And she grows concerned. Where was it? Late Sunday night, Tara's mother, Faye, grows concerned because Tara is not responding. I should turn that on. Because Tara's not responding to phone calls. She calls Tara's neighbors, Joe and Myrtle Portier. So Tara had a really good relationship with her neighbors. They had a little thing going on where she would turn on the light in her house at night so they would know she's okay. They had keys to her house. Tara's not responding to phone calls, so she calls Tara's neighbors, Joe and Myrtle Portier. But they have not seen Tara. Faye then asks family friend Heath Dykes to go check on her. So Heath Dykes is the guy that was messing with her. Dykes is a police officer from a nearby town of Perry. Okay, so, well, they said he was a detective in the show, but now he's a police officer from Perry. I don't know, but maybe they just... I don't know what he was, but... Oh my gosh, I have alarms going off everywhere. There's no gross concern. No, this one. Keith Dykes goes to Tara's house around 12:30 a.m. He knocks on the door several times, but no one answers, and then he wedges his business card in the door and leaves. I don't know, I just think that's kind of funny because they were like sleeping with each other. It's like he knocks on the door and leaves his business card. And trying to make it like nothing was going on. She had a lot of like secret relationships. It's like kind of weird to me. It's almost like she like enjoyed the thrill of like super secret relationships or something. Because if you think about it, like students and then, a family friend who was a cop, I guess she would have to have a lot of secret relationship. Well, she wasn't even in a relationship anymore here. Black truck scene again. So the husband of the witness who saw the truck on Sunday evening sees a black truck on Monday morning at 6 a.m. while on his way to get milk. I think that's Bo's black truck, right? Oh, so they were the same age. I mean, I guess that makes sense because she was 30. Because I like looked up a picture of him and he looked really old. But now that I think about it, she was 30 in 2005. So that's probably right. They were probably, yeah. So October 24th at 7:30 a.m., Tara does not show up to work Monday morning, and concerned teachers and peers begin to worry. Sure, this is where everything blows up because when somebody doesn't show up to work, that's when it's like, all right, this is serious. The neighbor asked to check on Tara again. At 8 a.m., someone on the Irwin County High School calls Tara's neighbor, Joe Portier, to go to the house. So someone from the high school calls him to check on her again. Joe Portier and some school employees arrive at Tara's house. Joe is the first to enter the house. As he is walking out of the house, he later sees a latex glove lying in the pine straw, about 8 feet away from the front door. Joe picks the glove up and then sets it back on the ground. So there's just this like lone glove just sitting in the grass, like 8 feet away, kind of like it looked like it was kind of towards the sidewalk. Like if you walk to the end of the like sidewalk to get to the other sidewalk, it was like at the front of her lawn, and if that's where it was, if I recall correctly, or maybe like halfway up. People in Tara's house. Billy Hancock. Sorry, I need a drink. The chief of Vasilla Police, Billy Hancock, arrives at Tara's house and also sees the latex glove. Billy calls GBI, and the case is officially handed to GBI. At 12 p.m., the Georgia Bureau of Investigation arrives at Tara's house and begins to investigate and tape off the scene. The neighbor, that's weird. Why would the neighbor get her car detailed? Like, wouldn't you not want to touch the car if she was missing? I don't know. I just find that really bizarre. Like, why the hell would you get her car detailed if she's missing? I know she's really close to her neighbors, but that's just bizarre to me. So, neighbor washes Tara's car. Tara's neighbor, Joe Portier, takes her car to get detailed during the day. Like, she's not even there. Would you just get her stuff and take it to go detail? Snapdragon Road fire. So, Snapdragon Road has been like a big people suspected Joe. Oh, okay. I haven't gotten that far. I haven't heard him talking about it yet, but that's just so weird. Like, she's missing and the police are involved, and the first thing you think to do is to take her fucking car to get detailed. Excuse my language, but that's just like, it's weird. I would not want to touch that car at all. Snapdragon Road fire. The Irwin County Communication Center receives an alarm from an unknown person about a fire at 425 Snapdragon Road. An unoccupied house just outside of Wasilla. The house is destroyed in the fire, as well as a 2000 Ford Expedition parked nearby. The K9 unit is brought out and makes a hit by the car, but it is determined it likely came from the car's gas line. The fire is ruled undetermined and remains so today. Yeah, this was big because a lot of people thought that Snapdragon Road was like the place where she was killed or where her body was left. They cops searched this place extensively. They sent out lots of dogs. I do remember hearing about this. They did talk about that in the early episodes. Maurice Godwin takes the case on March 1st, 2006. He's a private investigator. He's brought on by Tara's family to work on the case for disappearance. Maurice reads up on the case and prepares for his trip to Wasilla. Maurice goes to Wasilla on March 10th. Tara's sister, Anita Gaddis, and her husband, Dr. Larry Gaddis, let Godwin stay in their RV, located in an RV park just outside of Wasilla. The two met Maurice at the RV that morning and gave him the key to Tara's house so he could come and go as he pleased. So he goes in, and they weren't sure if there was like a struggle that ensued in the house or if anything even happened at the house. And he goes in there and he finds like a necklace clasp, and the clasp was like pulled apart, like somebody had ripped off her necklace. Like he said, like the way it was pulled out, it looked like it was like ripped off her neck. And then I think the headboard was broken, so he believed that there was signs of a struggle in the house, and he believed that GBI did not do a good job looking at the house. Like he said, he lifted up the carpet, and that the rubber stuff underneath the carpet was still like stuck to the ground, so he knows that they never picked up the carpet. On March 17th, he leaves Wasilla after a week of investigating and heads back to his home in North Carolina. So then things go cold for years, and the townspeople are just like, they got all, she's buried here, she's there, they have all these ideas. And then Payne starts the podcast in August of 2016, and it gets people talking again. It stirs up the case, gets everybody going again. Payne visits Wasilla and is welcomed by a reporter from the Wasilla Star, Dusty. I believe Dusty is his friend, Dusty Vassy. Podcast debuts. They search. Maurice Godwin gets a tip that there is a mound of dirt under a house in Wasilla that looks suspicious. Payne travels to Wasilla to search the mound and take dirt samples. So they all gathered there, and they got dirt samples, and they put them in bags. I haven't heard the rest of the podcast if he says that it came to anything or not. But so then literally a year after this podcast starts, so mind you, it's been cold for like 11 years. And he starts his podcast, and on February 23rd, 2017, Ryan Duke is arrested in relation to the Tara Grinstead case. So I don't know if they're going to explain it here. Let me see. Okay, so probably not. All right, so I'll explain it. Bo Dukes and Ryan Dukes are good friends, no relation. They just happen to have, or Ryan Duke and Bo Dukes. They just happen to have similar last names. They were students of Tara Grinstead. And Bo Dukes was at basic training, I think, with this guy, John McCullough, his name was, and they became good friends. And John McCullough came home for Christmas, I think it was. Came home for Christmas. Actually, I have a bunch of notes right here where I can tell you exactly what happened about John McCullough. Um, patient. Where did I write about it? Okay, so John McCullough comes back to Bose for Christmas, and they were drunk and riding around Irwin County when they happened to see flyers of Tara. And John McCullough asked, like, what happened to that girl, you know? And Bo said, hey man, like, you're my buddy, right? And he said, yeah. And he proceeded to tell him that he helped his friend Ryan Duke burn the body of Tara Grinstead at his orchard. I'm going to share the link if you want to come up, Alexis. If I listen to a podcast, they aren't biased like culpable. I mean, I haven't gotten that far, so right now, they are, right now, like, where I'm listening to, they have no idea what happened, and they're just asking everyone and everything they can to try and get clues. You know what I mean? And then it got everyone talking. I don't know about the later episodes between, like, how it starts to get a little shifty between Bo and Ryan Dukes. So I don't know if he is kind of biased. Okay, so he's biased in a sense where he believes that Ryan is innocent. Is that what you mean? I mean, they have reason why, but I'm like on the fence about it. I'm so confused about this whole situation. But so he says to John McCullough that it takes 2,000 degrees to burn a body. He told John that somebody else killed her. And then I believe Bo's girlfriend. Was Brooke Bo's girlfriend? Hold on, let me see. So Bo's Dukes. I mean the beginning is very yeah, okay. So where was I? Bo Duke's girlfriend is Brooke. He also says some stuff to Brooke, and she goes to the police about it as well. But I think they only really start. So John McCullough said that he had gone to the police a lot and told them several times, and they didn't do anything about it. And then I think it was Bo's girlfriend going to them that kind of pushed them to go forward with it. But he told his girlfriend too. So it says Brooke told John Whipple some details she learned from Bo. I guess John Whipple's like a detective. Bo said Ryan broke into the house, jumped in the bed, and strangled her. He admitted this to Chanel. Then they went to Ryan's house, and Ryan confessed. This is what bothers me about the whole situation. They said he didn't appear to be impaired, and Ryan confesses. Ryan tells the police he used a credit card to pick the lock. He was going through her purse, or like he was going through Tara's purse after he got in. He was trying to get money for drugs, and that she like kind of like snuck up on him and scared him, and then he punched her, and then they left, and then he went back to his house to get gloves and a quilt, This is what I don't understand. He says he punched her, and then he just assumed that his punch killed her. Like, then he says he goes back to his house to get gloves and a quilt, and then before he goes back there, he makes a phone call from a payphone to her house. So I don't know if he made a phone call from the payphone because he wanted to see if somebody would answer, or if she was still in the house dead alone. But he admits that he made a phone call from the payphone to the police, which was a detail that had never been made public. So, he knew that. And then they get that glove, and Ryan's DNA is on the glove, and his palm print is on the glove, too. I believe that there was another guy with them, Ben McMahon. So what they did, I guess, was I don't know if she was killed on the 22nd or 23rd, but they came back, got her body, and threw it, or like brought it to Bo's orchard in the black truck. I guess Bo used I think it was Bo's car, the black truck. And they drive it to his orchard and they burn her body. And then nobody knew about it for years until Bo slipped up and admitted it. Hold on, let me see here. So Bo was charged with concealing the death of another, tampering with evidence, and hindering apprehension of punishment of a criminal. And Ryan was charged with malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, burglary, and concealing the death of another. Now, a lot of people think that Ryan was like sleeping with Tara, but her family says Tara would never. Her family was saying like Tara would never sleep with a student, but clearly she had already done so with Anthony Vickers, so it wasn't really far-fetched to believe that. Like, did he really just what was I saying? I lost my train of thought for a second. Like, did he really just come in looking for drug money randomly at his teacher's house? And like, he even had her phone number and called the house at the payphone. So I just think there was more going on than, I don't know if they ever proved that, but they did find he's like semen on her comforter. Still cleaning glitter. I love that name. So where am I? So this is where it gets like weird. Now Ryan Dukes is claiming that he's innocent. And I believe and this is what the Up and Vanish podcast, it seems, kind of like ran with. That, and it makes me wonder is if this really did happen, or did they just like hear this story, like hear this, I guess, narrative, and they're like, yeah, that's what happened. But Bo Dukes is kind of like a piece of shit, so it's possible. So Ryan is saying that he's innocent, and I believe they're trying to make it as Ryan was blackout drunk and doesn't remember anything that happened, and that Bo did something to like Bo killed her and framed Ryan. I guess Ryan blacked out. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So where was I? I lost my train of thought again. I was blushing. So the glove that was found on the thing, they think Bo framed Ryan with the glove. Like he woke him up out of a drunken stupor and said, "Hey, you killed her. Hey, Sarah Beth. Let me recap for you guys. Hey, Queen. since you came in a little late. This is about Tara Grinstead. She was a 30-year-old teacher, beauty queen from Osceola, Georgia. She goes missing in 2005. Nobody knows where she was. The case went cold. There was a couple suspects. She had a boyfriend that she broke up with and had a bad breakup with. She was seeing a former student secretly. She was sleeping with a detective from another city. And there was a few suspects thinking, maybe they were involved. It went cold for like 11 years. And then this guy, Payne Lindsay, decides to do. Oh, Alexis, for some reason it says your device is not connected, and I have no idea what the hell that means. Hold on, let me look it up. Give me 1 second. Device is not connected. Click setting button. Check using head with a mic or button. I don't know what that means. Does anyone know what device is not connected means? Try going out and coming back in, but make sure your mic is on. I don't know what that means. Hold on, let me message her in case she can't hear me. She's trying to come up because she's the expert at this case, so I can answer questions, and it says devices are connected. How do I? Anyway, so the case goes cold for 11 years, and then it goes cold. Then this guy Payne Lindsay starts a podcast where he just out of nowhere decides, oh, I really want to do it. He liked those podcasts that take deep dives into crime. I think he said he got inspired by the one called Serial, and he was like, I want to do that. And he just starts digging into this case because it's nearby his house, and he starts making phone calls. It gets a lot of traction through the media, and people start talking. And because he does this podcast, the whole town starts talking about it again. And then things start coming out. Like this guy, John McCullough, so there was these two guys, Ryan Duke and Bo Dukes. They're not related, but they do have a similar last name. They were former students of Tara, and they are involved in killing her, but nobody really knows who actually did it between the two, even though Ryan confessed. So, she did have a relationship with a former student before, so a lot of people think she may have been seeing Ryan Duke, and she was killed, and then they burned her body at Bo Duke's orchard. Now, Ryan was arrested for the murder, and Bo was arrested for tampering with evidence and concealing. What's it called? Let me see. His indictment. He was arrested for concealing the death of another, tampering with evidence, and hindering apprehension or punishment of a criminal. So he ends up confessing to the police because his girlfriend told him, and then they went to him, and then he confessed. And then they go to Ryan's house, and Ryan confesses to killing her. He says that he broke into her house with a credit card, and that he was going through her purse to try and get money for drugs. And that she surprised him and he punched her. And then they came back and, hit her body or whatever. Now, Ryan is Are you back in here? Oh, there she is. She's in private chat. Hold on. Oh, she probably got off. It says my browser is blocking it. Oh. I don't know why. It's weird. That's okay. I'll ask you questions in here. So now Ryan is claiming that he's innocent and that he was framed. And that's kind of the narrative that the Up and Vanish podcast, I think, goes with, from what it sounds like, from what Alexis told me, because she's listened to the whole thing. But Ryan is trying to say now that he was so drunk that he doesn't remember. My brother named Bo, and my dad goes by Duke. That's awesome. Yeah, well, so Ryan's saying that he was so drunk he doesn't remember what happened, and that he might not have done it. But what's weird to me is, if that was the case, then why wouldn't you have just said that from the get-go? But also, what makes it confusing is Bo is like a total piece of shit. And I'm pretty sure that I don't know if he's been charged with it, but he's been accused of raping another woman like years later. So, if he's capable of doing that, then who knows? So it's possible, I guess. Now they found, the only really piece of evidence that they found was a, like, what do you call it? Like a latex glove in the yard. And they were able to get, before they knew it was Ryan Dukes, they got a full DNA profile from the glove. That's okay. It's all good. I don't know what's wrong with it. I know it's like, it says the devices aren't connected, but I tried to look at what it is, and it's saying something about a microphone or your camera. I don't know how to do it, so I'll have to figure that out in case it happens again. Reminds me of the old show Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, well, the guy from Dukes of Hazzard's name is Bo Dukes, I'm pretty sure. So he was probably named after that. I mean, they're from the South. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, they found this glove, and a lot of people thought the glove was planted, because they were like, at first they were like, oh, well, who would just put a pair of gloves on to go abduct this woman? Two other women. So Bo was accused of raping 2 other women. Yeah, can you tell we're Southern? Yep. But yeah, so Bo was accused of raping 2 other women. So sure, if that's the case and Ryan was blacked out, I mean, I'm sure it's possible Bo could have done it and blamed it on him, and convinced him, like, yeah, man, you were going through her purse, looking for money for drugs, and this happened. So maybe Ryan really thought that happened. Who knows? But a lot of people thought the glove, like I was saying, a lot of people thought the glove was planted, because before they found out what happened, they were saying, well, who would just wear gloves to go in and, like, abduct somebody, Hold on one second. Sorry. I hope he texts me. He's having issues at our job site. But they were saying, like, who would just go in and abduct somebody with gloves on? But obviously she was already killed, according to the confession. She was already killed, and then they went back and got gloves and a blanket. But a lot of people thought that the glove seemed planted. But the glove did have Ryan's DNA on it and his palm print on it. So, I mean, maybe it did happen on the 22nd, and he was so inebriated he didn't remember, and then they convinced him, and then the next day they went and got rid of her because they see the truck again on the next day. Because, like, witnesses have seen the truck the night before and the next day. So I guess that's totally possible, and maybe he convinced him that that's what was happening and that he was helping him. Uh, but yeah, they went to Bo's orchard and burned her body. And have they, Alexis, have they ever found any like teeth or bones from that burn site or no? So the trial is actually, you know what? I found, let me do something real quick. So I was on Reddit last night. I love Reddit. I just feel like there's so much juicy stuff on Reddit. And I was in the Tara Grinstead um Brian's confession. Hold on. I'm gonna see it. No. Let me see this real quick. Alright, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna hopefully I don't get struck by the Long Crime Network, but hopefully not. Actually, 2 women at once one time and another woman at another time. So 3 women. Oh gosh. What a dirt ball. So I'm pretty sure this they talk about Ryan. Oh, this is so long. I was thinking it was just a clip. Well, let me see if I can find a timestamp. Hold on. There's like 3 different YouTube. No. All right, we'll watch it. We'll see what they do. I'm gonna play it and see if it's early on. If not, then I'll stop it. Can you guys hear it? All right, both sides ready to go? That's good. All right, let's merge it. I've got my list. All right. So we start with the motion for JB. So I'm sounds far away. Well, the grader, I guess, still set back to the grader, running 12 minutes, 2 times the weather. I guess this is set back to the front. Stephen Duke. Is this Ryan's brother, Stephen? Yeah, it's Stephen Duke. This is Ryan's brother. Hopefully you get. Oh, they found teeth and tiny bone fragments. Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear this. Okay. Court stuff takes so long. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Yes. Thank you. If you will, pull that microphone up to this is a There's no sound. Hold on. Let me stop sharing my screen. How about now?
Dog and I think 5 cats.
And have y'all been helping to take care of those animals while he's been incarcerated?
Yes.
Okay. And I know I'm not going to call every single person, but do you recognize quite a few members of the community here in Lawrence?
Yes.
Can you make an estimate of about how many people you think are here to support Ryan?
35, 40, maybe?
Okay. And these are friends and family of yours and Ryan's?
Yes.
Okay, and they're all here in support of him being granted bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The state has a question. Let's just say that. Mr. Duke, you actually live in Tiff County, is that correct?
We're in Coffee County.
You live in Coughlin County?
Yes.
And now, let's go back to, you indicated that your brother can now work at Dixie Kitchen, is that correct?
Yes.
However, prior to his arrest, he did not work for a number of years, correct?
Correct.
Say more than 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay. And part of that is because he identified himself as a recluse, correct?
I don't understand your question.
He doesn't like to be around people who gets nervous.
He has anxiety.
He has anxiety. Yeah. What would he be doing at Dixie Kitchen?
My understanding, he would be working in the back cooking.
Ever worked at a restaurant?
No.
Now, part of that anxiety, let's talk about that. Your brother has had a history of drug abuse, correct?
Yes.
And he has also had a history of alcohol abuse.
Yes.
You're familiar with the fact that he's had 2 prior convictions for DUIs?
Yes.
And in fact, he's even been at least investigated for forging checks in your name, correct? And those were checks that belong to you,
Yes.
that he wrote at, was it Harvey's here in Pasilla?
I don't recall.
He wrote those without your permission.
Yes.
Was he ever charged with that?
Yes.
Do you know he was convicted of that?
No.
Is it my understanding that in lieu of him being convicted or prosecuted on a case, that's when he went to the military?
I'm not 100% sure. I know my father paid the fines and paid the money back, so he would not
Right.
be arrested.
Your father paid that also that he would not be in trouble.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the military time. How long was he in the military?
I'm not sure.
Less than 6 months? Objection, he's already said about that.
I'm gonna allow, well, I think you know the answer to the last question, but the last 6 months.
I'm not really sure. I know it was around that amount of time.
It was around 6 months. And he actually went AWOL from the military, correct?
He did.
Which means he left without permission.
He did.
And did he come back to Ocilla when he left, or do you know?
He went to my father.
He went to your father. And he did that because
I might actually be able to break this down without playing it all, but I'm going to play it until I find the list. I know where it is. I'll be 1 second, and then I'll break down his testimony, and I will play, I guess, the agents, because that's the one where they talk about the confession. But let me play this for a second while I find it.
emotional issues he was having at the time, correct? Now, this father who you've been referencing, who helped him out when he was in trouble and who helped him out when he went AWOL, that's the father that has now passed away, correct?
Yes.
You're familiar with the fact that your brother has been in custody now for going on 2 years, correct?
Yes.
And this is the first time they've been requested bond.
Yes.
And the entire 2 years that he's been in jail, he's been on suicide watch.
Yes.
Now, part of that is because your brother has previously attempted suicide on a number of occasions.
Yes.
Do you know how many times?
2, maybe.
Now, in 2005, when this occurred, you were actually living with your brother here, actually, I think it was in Midland, is that correct?
Yes.
So you and Ryan and off and on Bo Dukes were living in the same home.
Correct.
And in fact, to your knowledge, you were home the night that the murder occurred.
From what I've been told, yes, I don't remember that time frame, but I was told that I was there, yes.
And certainly during that time frame, your brother did not tell you about killing Tara Grinstead.
Right.
He did not tell you about burning the body of Tara Grinstead.
No.
And the whole time you were living in the house with him, had no knowledge of any of this.
Correct.
And you were also living there with Bo Dukes as well.
He stayed some. I wouldn't say he lived there at the time, but he stayed
And you stayed there more often than not.
probably.
Now, would you ever go out to the pecan orchard to party with Ryan and Bo? No? So you weren't present any of the times that they were bragging about having killed Tara Grinstead?
No.
And you have no knowledge of that?
No.
Matt, just one question? No further questions, thank you.
Can you read the reference, Mark?
Yes.
I want to start back when the start was asking you about Ryan having some prior cases dealing with alcohol and, she said alcohol and drugs, but only asked you about.
Okay. I have just a breakdown of his testimony because this probably is super long, so it's like an hour. But so they call his brother, Stephen Duke, to the stand. And then the state ends up calling Agent Jason Shootout, which I'm going to try and play his. But Stephen testified that Ryan could work for family if he was out on bond. He first learned of Ryan's involvement when Ryan was arrested. In April 2005, Ryan forged Stephen's name on Stephen's paychecks and cashed the checks. Ryan was charged, but the charges were dropped. Ryan's dad paid the money back to Stephen. Ryan went AWOL from the army because he was suffering from severe anxiety. Apparently, there was an incident at Ranger School that caused Ryan to want to leave the military. Ryan's mom was the one who requested Ryan be put on suicide watch. Ryan wouldn't speak to his family when he was in prison. And then, so shout out. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, but we'll see. I have a breakdown of his, but I kind of want to hear. Let me find where he testifies. Yeah, this is super long. Oh, here we go. Here's shout out. Shout out. I want to hear shout out because he's the one who I think got the confession.
Yeah, take one, please. Let me get you to state your name for the record.
Sure, it's Jason Shadow.
And how are you currently employed?
I'm a special agent with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
How long have you been employed with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation?
I've been a special agent since 2007. Prior to that, I was a deputy sheriff at the Thomas County Sheriff's Office for approximately 8 years.
How long then have you been certified law enforcement in the state of Georgia?
Since December the 20th of 2009.
If this sounds too fast at all, let me know and I can slow it down.
In 2017, were you the lead agent on this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been the lead agent on this case?
The case was assigned to me in 2009 when the prior case agent, Leah Lightner, left the GBI originally from maternity leave and then eventually just stayed on.
Were you working at the Perry office at GBI in 2005 when Ms. Grinstead was missing?
I was not.
Do you know how many agents have been assigned to the Grinstead case over the years?
3 counting myself.
Now,
Yeah, officially assigned.
okay. Have others worked on it then?
Yes.
Have actually committee investigators and members of GBI and everyone worked on this case over the years?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, direct your attention to actually 2016, prior to this defendant being arrested. Did you receive information in 2016 as it related to a person by the name of Bo Diggs?
I did.
And from whom did you first receive that information?
His name is John McCullough.
Do you know what the relationship was between John McCullough and Bo Diggs?
He was an associate of Bo's through the Army. They went to basic training together in 2006.
All right, you said your contact with him was 16? Is that
Correct, June 14th of 2016.
Did John McCullough ever indicate to you any fear of Bo Diggs?
No.
What was the substance of the statement John McCullough made to you?
Judge, I just don't have relevance, I don't know what any of this has to do with bond.
I hear from you, John.
Judge, defense counsel specifically went into asking questions and indicated that the defendant himself has made a false confession and he has recanted that Mr. Dukes is responsible. Certainly, that would be relevant to follow up on that doors would open further. The likelihood of conviction in this case, because of the seriousness of the offense, would also be irrelevant. And this is just follow up to questions that she asked.
Give you the last segment, Mr.
I didn't ask those questions, Ms. Hart actually asked those questions. I followed up and did not ask Mr. Duke about any of that. Ms. Hart did, and then I followed up on Ms. Hart's questions, so I didn't open that door during Mr. Duke's testimony.
However, you're good. So,
What was the nature of the information conveyed to you by John McCullough?
Mr. McCullough said that he had, during basic training in 2016, Bo were stationed together. I believe it was Fort Sill, Oklahoma. He said that instead of going home to his own home for Christmas that year, he came to Attila and spent that Christmas holiday with Bo during that sabbatical. And while they were riding around Irwin County together at the time, they were drinking, intoxicated. He basically
Yay, you
said,
made
at
it.
the time, and I wasn't here, but he said.
Can you hear me?
There were
Yeah, I can
posters
hear you.
and Flyers,
Okay.
and there was a lot of things that directed about there being missing. And so he began to question Bo about what had happened, talking about her. Essentially said, and I'm quoting Johnson, Bo said, "You're my battle buddy, right?" And I had to elaborate. It just means somebody that was a little bit closer friend, you're willing to, I'm assuming it was an Army term, that I wasn't in the Army, but that they were close and that he could tell them anything and that it would be trusted to stay between the two of them. And he said, essentially, that it takes 2,000 degrees to burn a body and that he had burned Tara Grinstead's body. He didn't admit to killing her, but he admitted that he burned the body.
I think that's John McCullough indicates to you whether or not the defendant denied killing her, or said someone else killed her, or just talked about burning the body.
He just talked about burning the body. I want to say,
you said the defendant, please.
I apologize, that's Mr. Dukes, he's a defendant in Israel.
Bo- Bo-
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was my objection, because I kept hearing defendant, he's not harming.
Right, yeah, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes, did Mr. McCullough indicate whether or not Bo Dukes, had he just not talked about the murder at all? Had he said somebody else committed the murder, or he just didn't know?
He said somebody else committed the murder and that he helped dispose of the body.
Now, at that time, did you in fact conduct an interview with Bo Dukes?
I did.
And to be clear, at that point, did he indicate any knowledge of why Tara Grinstead had disappeared?
No, he did not.
Now, in follow-up, in 2017, did you receive more information involving Bo Dukes?
I did.
And from whom did you receive that information?
The first call was from a gentleman by the name of Jeff Whipple.
Yeah.
Whipple, W-H-I-P-P-L-E. He called towards the end of January, I believe it was around January 20th, if my memory's right. And he said that his friend, Brooke Sheridan, had been dating Bo Dukes, and they had recently broken up, and that Brooke had disclosed to him that he was responsible, very similar information to what Mr. McCullough had given, that Bo had, helped dispose of Tara's body by burning it. He didn't know Ryan's name. That name didn't come up during that conversation. He mentioned some other names that were very similar sounding, but didn't exactly mention Ryan's name per se.
I'm going to jump forward. At some point, did you wind up interviewing Brooke Sheridan?
I did.
And during the interview with Brooke Sheridan, who at the time was Bo Dukes' former girlfriend,
Correct.
did she indicate whether or not Bo Dukes had ever talked about the murder of Tara Grinstead?
She did. She indicated that Bo had admitted to helping dispose of the body. He did not admit to killing her, but he helped dispose of the body by burning it. And she indicated, she once again couldn't remember the exact name that he had provided to her. She just couldn't remember exactly what name. She knew it was similar to his, but couldn't exactly say Ryan's name by saying.
As a result of all of this, did you wind up doing an interview with Bo Dukes?
I did.
And to be clear, are you familiar with any deal that's ever been offered to Bo Dukes in this case?
I'm not.
Did Bo Dukes admit to involvement in this case?
He did.
And what did he indicate his involvement was?
He said that the day that, and I'll say this, on Sunday, the day before Tara did show up for work on that Monday, he said that Ryan had come to him at the house that they were living at together in Fitzgerald, and that Ryan had told him that he killed Tara. And Bo said, based on what he told him, he didn't believe him initially. He said he thought he was messing with him, just thought he was joking around. He didn't know, he didn't believe him. As the investigation started on that Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday, he indicated that people had been talking more and more about the case. It was obvious that there was something going on and Tara was missing, and that he reapproached Ryan again and basically said, "What do you mean you killed?" Basically elaborate, tell me more, what did you do?
Did the defendant elaborate to Mr. Dukes about what occurred?
Bo said he did, yes.
And did Mr. Dukes, Bo Dukes, indicate whether or not he then saw the body of Tara Grinstead?
He did. They drove, they got into Bo's truck, and Ryan directed him to the orchard, directed him to a location in the, I say the eastern part of the orchard, it's the back corner of the orchard, and that Tara's body was lying in a tall grassy area adjacent to the pecan orchard. Her body was nude. She had what Bo classified as what he thought to be purple strangulation marks around her neck. He noted that she had a belly button ring, but once again, she was nude. He indicated there were signs of lividity, rigor. There was animal activity, insect activity, ants on her body. So yes, he did see the body.
Did he indicate if they did anything with the body, that being he and the defendant in this case, did anything with the body after Bo Dukes saw the body?
Yes, Bo indicated that he and Ryan, that Ryan was begging him to help him. He messed up, he was begging him to help him. And that Bo and Ryan loaded Tara's body into the back of Bo's truck, and they drove deeper into there's a pine tree, next to the pecan orchard, and they drove down a little dirt lane that led into the pine trees. They took her body into the woods. When you enter into that orchard, there are two barns, one on the left and one on the right, and at the time they indicated that there were large piles of cut pecan wood in those barns, and that they came back and loaded the truck up with large quantities of wood. And over the course of the next 3 days, which started her body multiple times, to include throwing household trash into the fire to make it look like a party fire. It was out in the woods.
Now, to be clear, do you remember if Bo Dukes mentioned the trash being thrown in her body?
I don't recall from the interview with him that he mentioned that. I would recall that more from Ryan saying that.
So this defendant did mention that they threw trash in her body.
Yes.
Did you indicate why they threw trash in her body?
To try to make it look like a party fire or something other than just a random fire.
You said that they can run deep. Is that
Correct. He said that during his interview with me. Yes, sir.
Now, did Bo Dukes specifically, I know you talked about lividity and rigor mortis, did he indicate if there was anything noticeable about the body when they had to move the body?
He did. If I recall, he said something about he noted like a skin slippage when they picked up her body. You have to have done it to have seen it, but the gases expand in the body, and what you'll see is, especially if it could be warmer temperatures or cooler temperatures, but the skin begins to slip away. So when you pick up the body, that skin moves. That's the best way I can describe it.
Now, did Mr. Bo Dukes, I know you said that they came back several times, did he indicate to you how many times it took to actually get rid of the body?
If I recall, they loaded the first load of 2 on Wednesday. He was a little about exactly how many loads of wood, but they at least 1.5, 2 loads of wood the first time. They came back again that Thursday, and it was still coals around the body. and that they went back and got more wood and loaded more wood around the body and burned it again.
Now, on that Thursday, did Mr. Bo Dukes indicate whether or not there was any part of her body still left?
I want to say that he indicated there may have been some vertebrae and ribs showing.
Upon seeing that her vertebrae and ribs were still showing, what did he and this defendant do?
They went and got more wood from the same place that they got originally and reburned it again until there was nothing, and then they returned again. If I recall, he would say returned again at the end and there was nothing but ash left.
Now, when you mentioned earlier that Mr. Bo Dukes had talked about seeing marks around the neck.
Correct.
Did Bo Dukes indicate to you whether or not this defendant ever told him how he murdered her?
He did.
And what did Bo Dukes tell you about how this defendant murdered Tara Grinstead?
Judge, I object on confrontation clause grounds. I know here she's admissible on hers, but if it's a violation of confrontation clause, it's not admissible, and this would be.
Just confrontation clause is a trial, right, it is not eligible as it relates to bond hearings. The court is aware hearsay is admissible, and anything the court thinks that could be go toward the bond issue is admissible.
Yeah, but,
Judge, it's a confrontation clause issue, and that's different than you're saying.
we'll let it.
What did Bo Dukes tell you about how this defendant murdered Tara Grinstead?
Bo indicated that Ryan had told him that he had broken into Tara's house, that she was asleep on her bed, and that he jumped on the bed and strangled her.
Now, I want to jump forward. Well, let me ask this first. What day of the week was it when you interviewed Bo Dukes and got this confession?
Bo was interviewed Tuesday, I think it was February the 21st, 2017.
When was the first time you made contact with Ryan Duke, the defendant in this case?
That same afternoon, it was late in the afternoon, 2-ish, 3-ish,
Where did you make contact with him?
at his residence on Pleasure Lake Lane.
Was anyone else present at that time?
I took Special Agent Madison Holland with our office, went with me to make contact with Ryan.
Was anyone else present at Ryan's home when you got there?
Not at the house he was at, but adjacent to his house was his parents' house.
And just so the court is clear, can you kind of explain that area as to the difference between where Ryan lived and where his mother lived, how far they are, and those things?
They lived right next door to each other. I would say the distance between their homes was the length of the courtroom, separating the two homes. We had made contact with Ryan on the door. I didn't know who Ryan was prior to this. So when he came to the door, he had, elongated facial hair, beard. He didn't look like the same facial pictures that I'd seen of him. Introduced myself, introduced Agent Holland, told him that we were there to discuss an old case. We never talked about what case it was, and that we'd like to have an interview with him. Asked him if he wouldn't mind coming to the police department for that interview. He indicated there was some family stuff going on, whether there be some health issues with his mother and stepfather, mother and father, who lived next door. We talked a relatively short time, and then his mother actually came out from next door and walked over and asked what was going on. I told her, we wanted to talk to Ryan about an older case. Once again, still didn't indicate what the case was about, or who the case was about. And we'd like to talk to Ryan if she wouldn't mind bringing him down to the police department, because he'd indicated there was some health issues dealing with his taking care of them, etc. And she indicated, yeah, we'll bring him down because he can't drive. We'll bring him down to the police department. I set the time for the next day, which would have been Wednesday at 1 o'clock.
Now, tell me again, what was the date on which you first spoke with Ryan Duke?
That was Tuesday. The same afternoon that we first talked to Bo, or informally interviewed Bo, that Tuesday morning, I drove down to Osceola with Bo, and or he drove down with his attorney, and we met with Bo in the Orchard area. He actually took us out there. And then after that was concluded, Madison and I went to Ryan's house.
On that Tuesday, did you ever mention the name Tara Grinstead to this defendant?
No.
Did Madison Holland in your presence ever mention the name of Tara Grinstead to this defendant?
No, and we did that on purpose.
Did he in fact show up the next Wednesday to interview?
He did.
Who brought him to, well, answer, where was that interview conducted?
Osceola Police Department,
And who brought him there?
his mother and stepfather, and I think they had one other person with him, but I can't be sure. I know his mother and stepfather for sure.
When he got there, who all was part of the interview?
Myself, Ryan, and Madison Hall.
At this point, had you ever again mentioned the name Tara Grinstead to this defendant?
No.
Tell me how that interview started.
We sat down with Ryan. We had a recorder on the table. The table was just like this. I was sitting on this side. Agent Hall was sitting across from me, and Ryan was sitting to my right. The first question I asked him was, do you know why? You never did ask us yesterday why we came out to your house. What case we wanted to talk to you about? Do you know why we want to talk to you? And he acknowledged he knew why we were there, and that it was about Ms. Grinstead.
To be clear, how did you refer to Tara Grinstead?
Ms. Grinstead.
Did you ask him why you thought it was about Ms. Grinstead?
I did. It was the very next question I asked him.
What was his response?
He said, "Man, I was involved."
To be clear, in that room that day, who was the first person to use the name Ms. Grinstead?
Ryan.
Following that, did the defendant make admissions which were consistent with the prior investigation?
Yes,
And at some point, was he advised of his Miranda rights?
he was.
Following having been advised of his, let me kind of go back. How long have you been having to get those Miranda rights?
Since I've been a police officer.
At the point that Ryan was given his Miranda rights, did you inquire of him whether or not he was under the influence of any drugs?
I did.
Or alcohol, I should say so.
I did.
What was his response?
He said that he'd taken a painkiller earlier that morning. And then based on that, I wanted to ask a few more questions to just, so he understood the voluntariness of what was going on. So I asked him, is it something that he normally takes? Is it a standard pill that he takes? Does he take it every day? Does it affect his judgment, his ability to understand what's going on? He was very adamant that he understood what was going on. He didn't need an attorney, and he was there to cooperate.
In your many years in law enforcement, have you had occasion to interact with persons who were under the influence of drugs?
I have.
Have you had occasion to interact with people who were under the influence of prescription medications?
I could say that the answer would be yes. I speculate because not every person that we've ever interacted with, we go into that. You suspect that, of course, based on the way that their behavior is. But there have been occasions where, yes, I've worked cases involving persons who've been intoxicated with narcotics.
And that leads me obviously to my question. Was there anything about this defendant that indicated that he was under the influence of any intoxicating substance, whether it was alcohol or drugs?
No, I didn't smell anything of any kind of odor of alcohol beverage coming from the person. He wasn't slurring his words. He talked soft as he did the day before. He was very soft in his voice. But there was no indicators that he was intoxicated.
While we're on that particular topic, we talked about later on, did Ryan Duke actually take you out to the orchard to attempt to locate the final resting place of Tara Grinstead?
He did.
That area, how would you describe that area as far as, is it paved or not paved, or tell us about the shrine?
The area, if you go down Highway 129 heading north, you go through the city of Fitzgerald, about a mile and a half or so north of the city of Fitzgerald. There's a long picket fence, I call it, but it's a white fence, like farm fence, very bright white. As we got closer to that particular area, he was like, yeah, it's right here, and he actually directed us down that road. And then as we were pulling down the road, it's now been cut down, the trees have been cut down, but back then there were trees.
So it sounds like that they interviewed them separately, and they both separately took them to this place.
Where the wood came from, so I indicated, are these the barns where the wood came from, acknowledge. As you pull in through that area, the pecan orchard opens up, and it's just long rows of pecan trees that are probably 20 to 30 feet apart. So there's long rows with pecan trees so they can grow and expand. We went to the farthest road possible, and we were told to turn left, and we drove down to that corner, that eastern corner that I described earlier, the same exact location that both directed us to. And as we got closer to that area, Ryan actually pointed out the area where Tara's body was originally dumped by him, by his own admission, where her body had originally been dumped. And what I thought was significant about that was it's the same exact area, general area that Bo pointed out when we had taken him out there. We drove down that little dirt lane into the pine trees, and there's two lanes that are cut to the left, like roads. And so we stopped around the first road, general area where Bo had indicated when he was taken out there, and Ryan got out of the car. He walked around, tried to locate, that area.
Was he handcuffed at the time he was walking around?
Correct, in front.
Did you ever seem to have any problems navigating the train?
No, not that I saw.
Stumbling?
No.
Did you notice anything at that point to show that he was in any way under the influence of any intoxicating substance?
Not to my belief, he did.
I'm going to go back to the interview itself. After having made these admissions that he was involved, did the defendant, Ryan Duke, specifically indicate who had killed Tara Grinstead?
That's Ryan. Oh, she's back.
Did he indicate to you whether or not anyone else was present at the time that he murdered Tara Grinstead?
He said he was by himself. I asked him numerous times during the interview if there was somebody else there that he needed to tell me about it. Each time he indicated he was by himself the entire time. Nobody helped him. He once again multiple times said he was by himself. Nobody else was with him.
Now, did the defendant indicate to you why he was in Tara Grinstead's home in the first place that evening, or early morning hours?
He did. He said during his interview that at the time he was involved in drugs and alcohol pretty heavily, and that it influenced a lot of his decision making, and that he had gone to her house to steal money to pay for his habit.
Did he indicate to you whether or not he had ever broken into anyone else's home for that same reason?
He said during the interview that he was casing homes, but he didn't indicate any other person's home he broke into.
And did you ask him how he got into, or did he tell you how he got into her home?
He told me.
And what did he tell you about how he got into her home?
He said he used a credit card to pick the lock on her door and went into the house.
Now,
Or a card, some kind of credit card.
did this defendant, indicate to you how he murdered Tara Grinstead? What did he tell you about that?
He said as he was going through her purse, trying to find money, that somehow Tara surprised him, said something to him, and that he turned, and out of reaction, he punched her and hit her. That's what he said.
Did he indicate what he did after he hit her?
He said he became scared about what he had done and immediately basically ran out of the house and went back to his own home.
Did he ever return to her home?
He did.
And
According to him, he did.
did he indicate to you whether or not anyone else returned with him?
Now, once again, he was very specific. He went by himself. He said that he had gone to his house and he got gloves and a quilt so that he could wrap her body in it. I asked him, why do you have latex gloves? He said that they usually, change cat litter in the house, and that's what they were used for primarily. But he wasn't quite certain that he even used the gloves at first. He's, trying to remember.
Yes, sir.
And then he went back to her house, and on the way back to her house, he indicated that he had made a phone call. And to be honest with you, I knew what he was talking about, but I didn't lead on that I knew what he was talking about.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there before we go into that. Let me ask you, did Bo Dukes ever mention anything about this phone call?
Absolutely not.
Now, you said that you knew what he was talking about. How did you know what he was talking about?
Based on prior conversations that I'd had with other agents who worked on the case over the years, one of the things we learned within weeks, I would say weeks, early months of the investigation is that somebody had made a telephone call to her residence that Sunday morning, which would have been the 23rd of October, that year, the day after the sweet potato Okay.
Yes, sir.
Somebody had gone and it was at the store, the G&G store. Somebody had gone to that store based on the phone records and contacted 411, called her house using 411. And that based on the answering machine times that we looked at, that she had an answering machine that nobody seemed to have picked up. But we knew that there was a phone call made to her house that morning, which was suspicious. So when he indicated that he had made a phone call going back to her house, I immediately recognized that that's possibly the call he was talking about. It's something that we never told anybody. It was never released in the media, never released in the public. So when he mentioned that, I wanted him to elaborate without him knowing that I knew what he was talking about. So I said, what phone call, what store, and he indicated I went to the G&G store, I called 411, she didn't answer the phone, and I think I said, you kind of wanted her to answer the phone, didn't you? And he was like, yeah, but she didn't. And you went to I think he said he drove by the house a few times, drove by the house, and then pulled up and went back inside, loaded up her body.
I know this court will be aware, but just so the record is clear for anybody who may be younger than that, what is 411?
411 is if you don't know the person's telephone number, you would call 411 and say, I need a telephone number from whoever. And they would, if it's listed publicly, they have access to it and will either call the number for you or give you the number.
As part of the original investigation,
I'm gonna end it there because it pretty much describes it. But I just think it's crazy because, like, I didn't even hear this part, but I thought maybe that they were. Thanks, Sarah. I thought that maybe they were seeing each other, but maybe not. Like, now that I hear that he called 411 and what's it called? Asked for her phone number. I'm just so confused on this whole situation because I could totally see Bo like doing it, and now I'm even confused as to is if he was by himself that night or if Bo was with him because they didn't really make that clear. They made it that he there helped them find the body, but Alexis, if you're still in here, you were fine. I just muted it till the video was off. Hold on. Let me get rid of that. Where was I? I'm reading this. So, everybody in the house. Shadow said he asked Ryan how he was able to get Tara's body out of the house, and that Ryan reacted emotionally and started crying. Shadow said he thought Ryan was reliving it. Bo told his friends, Wes Connor, Bo's cousin, the son of Suzanne and Bobby Connor. Suzanne is Dixie's sister. Personal note. I find it hard to believe Wes knew. So, wait. So Bo told all these people? Hank is Ben's brother. Okay, so Ben was I think he was like the third guy. Ben McMahon. I'm pretty sure he was the third guy who helped them hide the body. But I think by this point, like by this time they have gone to trial, that Ben was dead, if I recall correctly. Alexis would know that. I don't know. There she is. Hold on.
I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry. I kept having to hop off because my car is getting worked on right now and I kept having to talk to the mechanic. So I have no idea what you're talking about right now. I thought I heard you talking about Ben McMahon.
Yeah. Who's Ben? Explain who Ben McMahon is, because
So Ben McMahon, and I believe, well, first let me preface this with saying I'm a little rusty on the case because it's been so long since all of this happened, 2017, I think, when Ryan was arrested.
yeah.
But I believe Ben McMahon and I think Hank McMahon is his older brother. And they're the sons of a prominent doctor, the prominent doctor in Osceola. And so Ben was very good friends with Bo, with a bunch of other people who are all really like well-established, wealthy families and in town in Osceola. So Ben, I think was the same age, maybe a little bit younger, and he had an insane crush on Tara. Everybody knew he
I
was
heard about that.
absolutely obsessed with her. And supposedly he was there the night that Tara died. And
So
unfortunately,
him and Bo were there when Ryan killed her?
when Ryan allegedly killed her, yes,
Yeah, allegedly.
I know I won't be annoying and say that over and over, but when yes, he was supposedly there, and the thing is, it's been very hush hush because first of all, Ben died from cancer at age 27.
So he
Um,
died before all this came to
before
fruition.
all of this happened, yes, and I have a couple theories on that. Um, and that something might have been eating him up inside, literally, which possibly, caused the cancer. But anyway, people don't want to say anything bad or um, say what they know because of Dr. McMahon. He's really well liked and well respected in town, and it's small town Georgia. So I don't know if I answered your question though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he was friends with them pretty much. That's
He
what I
was,
was.
yes,
And
he was very
he
good
was
friends with
there.
them.
Was he definitely there when they burned the bodies? Did they say that he was there?
He was not there when they destroyed Tara's body. No, he was not.
Okay.
But supposedly some say that he was there when Tara died and that he was involved in it. There are
Can we
lots of
talk about
people.
can we talk about the message board stuff you sent me yesterday, or is that something I can't say
Yeah,
yet?
yeah, no, we can talk about it. I actually didn't even read it through myself, but
Mm.
supposedly, so apparently what everybody was saying, or well, not everybody, but apparently what was known was that Ryan had been seeing Tara. It was a brand new thing. Not many people knew about it, but everybody knew that Ben had a crush on Tara. And so
Yeah.
this was the night of the Sweet Potato Festival. It was one of the biggest partying nights in Osceola. And I think that Tara went and hung out with these guys, and Ryan was wasted, drunk, blacked out. And apparently, some will say that Tara died from an overdose, that Bo Dukes supplied some sort of drug and drugged Tara with it. Now, how? I don't know because Tara was well known that she did not drink, she did not do drugs.
Yeah.
She had other vices that people kind of knew about, but not that. So how she
Yeah.
would be drugged, I'm not exactly sure. But
I
that
mean,
she
unless they snuck drugged her, they put it in her drink or
were like,
you know.
hey, I mean, it's weird, she's our history teacher, and Ryan seeing her like, hey, Miss Grinstead, want a Coca-Cola? And like, here,
Yeah.
have, hey,
I
history
mean,
teacher.
that's the only thing I can really think of,
Yep.
if they were trying to do something nefarious. And well, yeah,
Yes.
there's these papers that she sent me that had an exchange between two people on the
Yes.
the Up and
Up and
Vanish
Vanished.
message board. Yeah.
Yep. Discussion
So
board.
what did they mean about the taking bribes from was it
Uh,
Tara found out. Who's BC?
oh, let me get the dog out.
Is it-
So, Tara was, I really, really do have to review things because I'm really rusty, but Bobby Connors, I believe, did it say BC?
Yeah,
I,
BC.
I believe was the high school superintendent or the superintendent of the school system or whatever.
Okay.
And I thought that's who Tara was over at the barbecue at the house that night. The night that she
Yeah.
disappeared is Bobby Connors. And so they were saying that he was taking bribes for getting construction work done from certain people. And I'm still a little bit confused as to how all that ties in. I don't
Yeah.
really think it does.
I was like, what
I
did they
think
even mention that for?
yeah, I think that some of that stuff that I sent you is a little bit conspiracy theory stuff, and they're trying to make everything fit into a nice, neat bow, and it doesn't
Yeah.
tie it up with a nice, neat bow. But I definitely think that that Ben McMahon might have been there that night, and that it's possible Tara was drugged, and that they might have. I'm not supposed to use, I guess, the R word on YouTube, but
Yeah.
that they might have done that. I don't know. That's what's so fascinating about this case is that I don't think anybody really knows what happened. Well, I think Bo Dukes does, but I don't even think Ryan knows. I think he confessed, but I think he confessed to something that Bo told him that he did, and together they worked up a cover story for what would have happened. But
And thought they were both going to say the same thing, and Bo
right,
ended up ratting
but
him out.
right, but and why would Ryan? I mean, if you're going to break into somebody's house for drug money, you're not going to break into your school teacher's house. In that tiny little house she lived in, she didn't have anything. She didn't have
Yeah.
money. There was no, so the story doesn't even make sense. And I think
No,
it
it
was something.
doesn't. I mean, yeah, that's it. I didn't even think about it like that. That possibly they concocted a story together, and he thought that Bo told the same story as him, but Bo
Yeah,
didn't, and Bo blamed
yes,
it on him because they interviewed them separately. So he
yes.
probably thinking Bo was going to say the same thing, and Bo didn't.
Well, and there is apparently, I don't know where you can find it. A lot of this stuff is on the Up and Vanished podcast page and on the discussion board pages, where there is Bo Duke screenshot some messages, Facebook Messenger messages between he and Ryan Duke, and sent them to Jason Shadell, to the guy that's right there on your, what am I trying to say? Like on the video right now. But he sent some messages back and forth saying, kind of like alluding to, yup, just say this and keep me out of it. So, I mean, it's pretty, why would he say keep me out of it?
Yeah.
I need to find those and get them to you so you can post that, because Bo, and it's odd because Bo screenshot them himself and then sent them to Jason Shadell, the lead GBI agent. So I don't know. I think he was trying to prime him to get him to confess, and apparently he did confess within the first half hour of being in the in
Ryan
the
did.
room. Ryan did, yes. But, and then I don't know if you had covered the fact that Ryan's confession, the summary of his confession, was leaked online on the Up and Vanish discussion board for everybody to see. And come to find out, it was Bo Dukes who leaked it.
Who leaked it? Oh my
Yes.
God.
He had the confession. Well, it was a summary of the confession. It wasn't verbatim, but he had leaked that onto the Up and Vanish discussion board because apparently his lawyer got that information in part of discovery for his own case. So
And a lot of the locals think that Ryan is innocent because Bo has like a crappy reputation around there. Correct?
yes. Apparently Ryan was one that never got in a fist fight in his life. He was very shy. He was kind of quiet. Girls liked him. He was kind of the sweet, kind of sensitive type. And Bo was aggressive. He was known to push the envelope. All of this, they talk about it later on in the Up and Vanish podcast when you get to that part. And
I'm
people
kind of cram it all in before trial because I'm like,
yeah, there's
like,
a lot.
all day.
There's a lot. Sometimes people say that the podcast is biased against Bo, but Bo's such a creep that it's kind of hard not to think that way about him. I mean, he's done a lot of really shitty things. So
Yeah, from what I've seen, like reading, like Reddit and stuff like that, a lot of the locals really believe Bo was involved. Like me, from looking at it from like a outsider point of view,
yeah,
I'm like on the fence because I'm just looking at like evidence and don't know anything about these people.
their
So it's kind of like,
personalities.
but
Right.
now that you said it like that they probably concocted a confession together, I could totally see that happening. Like,
Well, yeah, and the funny
I
thing
never
is,
thought of it from that point of view.
I think Ryan was gonna just kind of go along with it. He had a public defender, and the one oh also one of their good friends was the son of the district attorney as well. And the DA and like his public defender and everybody's all in the judicial system together, and they just wanted to just lock him away and throw away the key and have it be done really fast. They had no idea that along would come one of the best lawyers in Georgia, Ashley Merchant, and take this case on pro bono. And that only happened
Yeah, that's
once,
huge. I mean, that shows that they're taking it pro bono, that they really
that they
believe
believe, yes,
his
in
innocence.
something. And Ryan only started saying, wait, my confession, it wasn't accurate. He only did that once Bo, I believe the timing is right, once Bo was given that 25 years, or once something happened with Bo, because
Where
I
Bo
do
could
believe
like do anything to him.
to his family. Yep.
Oh
I
yeah.
think Bo threatened him. And I think that once he knew that Bo couldn't do anything, he said, okay, wait. Yep. But this is why it's such the kind of case that just can't let go of, because who really knows what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Bo does. And will Bo ever talk? Nope. You know?
No, I don't think he'll ever. So and you said he's in 3. Now, has he ever been convicted of any of these?
I don't
Um,
believe so. And I've lost track a little bit. I really need to review, but he's gotten in trouble for the lying to the GBI part about Tara, because I think you probably went over that. When John McCullough tried to tell them what he knew over and over again, they questioned Bo in 2016 prior to the podcast. Bo lied about it. And then, of course, fast forward, the podcast is going on. And when they question him again, he tells them the truth. So he was sentenced the maximum 25 years
yeah.
for
It's
lying
pretty-
to the GBI.
Is his girlfriend still with him, Brooke? Because it looked like in the thing I just played, she was sitting in the seats with like an engagement ring on, with like her head in her hand.
Which one that was old though, what you were showing,
Yeah,
right?
I know. I think it's like a 2017 one.
I don't know if they're still together. I know that she's had some health issues, some pretty serious health issues, and so I'm not sure. And Bo's locked away for a long time. He's still, when you were asking about the rapes, it's funny because the first one that was those single persons, that happened right around the time that it's hard to explain the timeline. I'm gonna have to write it down to explain it properly, but right around the podcast Payne Lindsay starts to say, wrap up all the prior theories and say, after this, it goes into some weird places, the theories with this crime. And he says, and we'll be covering that next. So it leaves it on a cliffhanger. Right around then, supposedly, Bo confesses to Brooke, to his girlfriend. Now, I believe Bo was listening to the podcast. He's a pretty tech savvy person. He's really into this stuff. Right around the same time as well, they were all having a drunken slumber party. Apparently, Brooke was there, and Jeff Whipple, the guy you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
who I believe was the first person to go to the GBI, because Bo,
Oh, so that was a friend of his then.
not a friend of his, but a friend of Brooke's. And apparently, Brooke, Jeff Whipple, Bo, and some other people, including one woman that Bo raped at knife point, I believe, while Brooke was at the house.
Yeah, here we go. I just found an article for it, so I'll read it real quick. Convicted felon
Yep.
Bo Dukes indicted for raping a woman at knife point.
Yep.
Georgia man Bo Dukes, previously sentenced to 25 years in Wilcox County for interfering with investigation of a 2005 disappearance and the death of a teacher, Tara Grinstead, now faces charges of rape, sodomy, and possession of a knife during the commission of a felony. The indictment out of Houston County, Georgia, attained by long crime shows. The charges look similar to the ones that sparked a manhunt and resulted in Duke's arrest in January 2019, date back to 2017. Although we have obtained the indictment, it names the alleged victim in the case and grand jury members, so we will not be embedding it here. The true bill was signed on October. He had a knife.
Yep.
And forced the alleged victim to perform oral sex on him at knife point.
Okay. Now,
I think the woman died though. the lady who made those claims. I think she was killed in like a robbery.
Oh,
In Master of Disguise.
so prior to them being able to follow through on that,
I'm
then
not sure if she died before they could follow through or not, but I did see an article. I tried to open it, but I had to pay for it. But it said
okay.
like woman who or prostitute who accused Bo Dukes of RAPE dies in a robbery attempt or something like.
I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Oh, go ahead.
I always kind of wondered. I get a couple of these things jumbled up in my mind because so many things happened and because it was a while ago. But the 2017 incident, that happened in January, right around when the Jeff Whipple, because I believe he went to the GBI and told them first, not Brooke, even though she's taking credit for it. And I believe he did it because Brooke told him, number one, what Bo had told him, and number two, because he knew that he had tried or that he had done that to that girl.
Yeah.
Now, they never prosecuted him, and I didn't know that about the girl passing away. I always thought, and this is a little bit conspiracy theory, whatever, but I don't know if you covered this earlier. You know, they had tips. Osceola Police Department or the county sheriff, they'd had tips about who had done this to Tara, and they never really followed through on it. And
Yeah,
I don't.
they
Yeah, well,
John
I
McCullough didn't John McCullough like tell them a bunch of times and
did, and there were other people that overheard stuff at a party. But the thing is that I wonder. Bo Duke's grandpa was very, very well known. He was a state representative in the House of Representatives. He also owned Osceola pecan, like the largest pecan exporters in the whole country. So very, very wealthy. Basically, the town's economy thrives off of his business, survives off of it. And, you know, he's a political person. So I always wondered, boy, did they not prosecute Bo? Did they push things under the carpet because he was the grandson of this guy?
yeah. So here's
You
the
know,
second one. Then I found the other article about the two other women.
yep,
He allegedly held two women at gunpoint,
yes.
raping them, but the police aren't the only ones looking for him. So he was like a fugitive?
Yes, he was. And he was a fugitive for about 5 days in January because he,
Wait, he conspired to steal with his wife. Who is his wife? Not Brooke, right?
no, wait a second. What is it saying? That's not,
The federal charges against Duke for
oh,
conspiring with his wife to steal
yes,
over
yes,
$150,000 worth of property from the United
yes.
States Army.
Yes. So when after all of this happened with Tara, Bo enlisted in the army, and I believe that was his way of running away from everything and getting away, you know, getting out of Dodge
Um,
after Tara was murdered. And so he met a woman there who ended up becoming his wife. And here's a couple other things. So yes, they did. I think from what I understand, they had a drug problem when they were back in the States. They were in Savannah, stationed there, and he was like a purveyor officer. Like he would like buy goods for the unit for whatever. And he instead of just buying things for the army, he would buy like TVs and this and that and go and pawn them and take the money. And
and he had a drug problem?
$150,000 worth of stuff. What's that, Kate?
And he had a drug problem, he said?
That's what I have heard. I don't know for sure, but I mean, I don't know why else he would be doing something so crazy. And for anybody that wants to look it up, there is a picture of his wife at the time dressed for Halloween as a dead zombie beauty queen.
No.
Yep.
That's oh my God. I don't mean to laugh, but oh my god, that's
Yeah,
terrible.
she,
What?
there's a photo of book of, so I'm praying and
Yeah.
hoping if there is one person other than Bo who might actually know what happened, it might be his ex-wife. She's supposedly somewhere in New York. Um,
Now, is her name Emily? Because they
Her name
said,
is Emily. Her name is
okay,
Emily. I mean, you would think if if she dressed up as a dead beauty queen, for Halloween one
it
year,
was
that
on purpose.
she might know some things. I mean, but who knows? He might have started because I believe that it was his fault. He might have started laying his alibi early and just told her the same thing that Ryan did it, like everybody else. Who knows? I don't know if we'll ever get the real version.
Yeah,
So,
so it says here he allegedly held 2 women at gunpoint at his home in Georgia. He is alleged to
yeah,
have committed RAPE, aggravated sodomy, false
yeah.
imprisonment, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Because of
Oh, I
the
didn't know that.
allegations against Duke, the federal judge is revoking the order initially set that Duke surrender voluntarily. He is still at large.
Yes, and
I
he was.
read like in another one that he put the gun in their mouth, but I couldn't. Again, it was like one of those paid ones.
I don't remember that, but I thought I remember something about he was already in trouble, like he already was violating, I think, his probation because of the $150,000 theft issue with the army, and he was already in trouble with that. I thought, and so he violated his probation, and then that happened, and that's why there was a manhunt. But I cannot remember for the life of me how that all went down. I've got to look that back up because it was
Yeah.
all tied together. And apparently I think it's Bobby Connor, the uncle that I was telling you about earlier. I think that he's related to him somehow. A lot of people in our Osceola are related to each other. But that he turned himself in, said, okay, I'll come out of hiding, and turned himself in at his uncle's house. And they took him into custody.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to believe that he didn't have anything to do with her actual death because he's such a like shithead. You
Well,
know?
and I mean, what person says, oh, I'm such a good best friend, you killed our history teacher last night, but don't worry, I'm not going to go to the
I'll
police,
help
or
you burn the
I'll help
body
you
on my
burn the
property.
body on my family's property over multiple days when you could get caught. He had to have a very good reason for wanting to destroy her
To
body.
go out of his
There
way to do
had
that.
to be evidence of his own on her body, and I think that his sperm was on her body, and that's why he went out on a limb and did such a
So
thing.
do you
Yeah.
think they could have drugged her and they all could have kind of like done something with her and that's why?
I mean, I think that I think the reason that they were there at all was because she and Ryan had something going on. So I don't
Yeah.
know. He could have messed around with her and that would have been fine.
Or
Although
maybe
he's
it's like one of those situations where Ben was upset because he wanted to be with her and
jealous.
Ryan. Yeah, and
Jealous.
Ryan was with her and then him and what's his name, Bo concocted up some plan and blamed it on him.
Yes. Yes. And I think that Bo and Ben McMahon, they were both wealthy kids, well connected, you know, and I don't think that they liked the fact that little Ryan Duke, who didn't have a pot to piss in, who was short, he was kind of quiet and not that she, who apparently she used to kind of flirt with all her boys. She really loved her boy students, I guess, from what people say. So, you
Yeah.
know, that she didn't choose either of them to hang out with. And especially with the Anthony Vickers thing, then that means that, this had happened with more than one student. And I think that, yeah, they could have gotten angry and jealous.
In my
And
opinion, I think Ryan definitely lied about his confession and made up some story that they probably put together because he does say that he just punched her in the face. Like, I
right.
highly doubt you believe that you actually killed her by just punching
No,
her in the face. You know what
it
I mean?
doesn't
Like,
make any sense. A kid who's never really supposedly thrown a punch in his life, doesn't not trained in martial arts. He's like 5'7". and wasted drunk. I mean, okay, so he just kills her with a punch. And then in other places it says with strangulation or whatever. And I don't even think that when they asked him that he was sure of the way that he supposedly killed her. And that's why the arrest affidavit is very, very vague. It doesn't say with his hands, it says with his hand, because I don't think the GBI even actually know how she died.
Thanks, guys.
So that's why it's so fascinating.
It is. I mean, like, I think this is going to be an interesting trial, and I'd really like to see what they kind of like
Yeah.
do now. And I really hope that Ryan takes the stand. And
Oh yeah. I don't know though. I mean, he's had a lot of time to prepare. You know, they
but
found
I think like the whole town, like most of the townspeople are. I mean, even though he was still involved to an extent, I feel like a lot of the people have his back, especially because of like the
yeah,
Uncut podcast. Like I think.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. And um once you get to the end of the podcast, there is a story and about a guy who has since died, who says that he was at the local pub one night. And actually, this guy isn't telling Payne Lindsay the story, it's his brother, because the guy who the story the guy whose brother who this happened to, he actually died. So his brother's telling Payne Lindsay the story, that
Uh-huh.
the story stuck with him so much. So his brother one night was at the local bar. He would always go see this band play religiously all the time. And one night he was leaving and there was a guy in a Jeep and he was cranking the Jeep, trying to get it to start, wouldn't turn over, wouldn't turn over. He goes over and he says, "Can I help you?" And he said the guy's stumbling and bumbling around and, realizes, can't get the car started. It's a dead battery. Well, this guy, the guy who's passed away, the guy who's telling the story, he didn't want to let him. He said, I'll jump your car for you. I'll jump your car for you and we'll get you home. Well, he purposefully didn't put one of the chart things on the car because he didn't want him to drive drunk, right? So he does it on purpose. So the person ends up getting in the car with him and he says, I'll take you home. He actually says, "I'll carry you home." I guess that's a Georgia saying, like when you drive somebody, you give them a ride, "I'll carry you home." So he takes him home. And in the car, the person went on and on. Oh God, now I'm gonna screw up the story. He said, "Oh, I know." He's like, "You shouldn't be driving when you're that drunk. You could kill somebody." And he's like, I know. Because one time my best friend told me I killed somebody when I was this drunk. He said,
No.
"My best friend told me." And I'm gonna ruin the story because I can't remember how they identified that it was Ryan who was the
But
one that
they
was
were
telling the
able
story.
to
But they
identify
were
that.
able to figure out, pretty sure that it was him. So
I'm really
yeah,
curious about that suicide note too. So this guy, so Dusty Vassy is the reporter, right? The Osceola
yep,
reporter,
yep,
and his friend's brother
yep, his friend's
committed
younger brother.
suicide and
Yep,
left a note saying that he knew the people. It's a southern thing we say it, Sarah said. Um,
oh yeah, Carrie, yeah,
um, what was that? So he wrote a note saying that he knew the people who were involved in Tara Grinstead's death and that they were
yep,
after him.
yep,
He believed they were after him.
yep,
And he was so distraught over it that he killed himself. And he wrote a list of 12 people
some people,
that
yep,
he thought were involved. I'm really hoping that comes out in trial because apparently Payne had had 5 of the names that were on the list.
yep,
But he didn't say them, not yet at least from where I got to the podcast. But I'd really love to know who else is on that list and if there's more people or if it was like,
I would, yeah, I mean, I would like to know too, because it was something towards the end of when everybody was like still really talking about this before things had died down, like well after the podcast and Ryan had been put away and was awaiting everything. Like supposedly they did like some investigating and it was found that the suicide note wasn't related and that Snapdragon Road wasn't related. But it's hard because I don't know, it's fishy, you know, there's a lot of stuff on there. And apparently where the guy, everybody calls him Buddy. They don't call him by his name, the one that killed the, I don't know if you're not allowed to say that on here, but the one that harmed himself, self-harmed.
yeah.
He apparently was on a road, I think on his dirt bike or his ATV, and bumped into supposedly Bo Dukes or somebody who had a black woman with him. And that was the story that he told. And
Yeah.
everybody always wondered a black
They carved
woman.
their name, that they had to carve their names
Yeah.
into the
But-
body of Tara to put their DNA on there so they would never. I forgot about that part.
Well,
Yeah.
people wondered, what do you mean a black woman? Like they were like thinking, what do you mean like somebody like who's African American like that? What do you No, they actually come to find out they were saying maybe after trying to burn her body or possibly after trying to submerge her in
That her
the
body was
lake.
black.
Yes, that it was black from being submerged. I don't know.
Yeah, there was
It's
rumors that they
crazy.
threw her in this pond and then she floated to the top and then they decided to burn her body. But this guy
Outside of
claimed,
Snapdragon, right?
yeah, and then this guy claimed that he walked up on them, the guy who killed himself, that he walked up on Bo Dukes and them, I guess, while they were burning her body, and they forced him to carve in his initials in her body so that his DNA was on there, so he would never rat them out.
I don't know.
I know it sounds a little far fetched. The guy,
So
they also
crazy.
said the guy could have got like a concussion and bumped his head pretty hard,
Yes.
and and that he could have just had like a traumatic brain injury and he was just talking crazy.
I think it's got to be something like that because at some point the story starts getting so convoluted and crazy. I mean, you know, Tara's like supposedly at her house and she dies. Then she's at Snapdragon. Then she's at the orchard, and you know what I mean? Like,
So do you know who
it's
owned
just too.
Snapdragon? Like who owned the house?
Yes, it was. I can't remember their names, but at the time it was two older ladies, and I think they were, I don't know, somewhat of snowbirds. Like they would go north to Georgia in the summertime, which isn't really very far north. That they lived in Florida year round, something like that.
Did they have any connection to like Ryan or Bo?
Not that anybody ever found out or saw. No, not that I believe. No, there wasn't. Now the one guy who was watching the house, now I can't remember. I think he was somehow related to the Osceola Police Department, where like Marcus Harper and the other guy that you were talking about. I think there's something there, but no, not really. You know what?
Early on, they really focused on Snapdragon a lot because I remember the dog handler lady saying that they probably searched there 20, 30 times.
Yes. And you know, it's hard for there not to be connections with a lot of these people. You're talking about a town that's tiny, small town. Everybody knows each other. So the fact, you know, the thought that somebody's related or friends of somebody or this or that, it's pretty probable.
Because I could totally see, you know, her going to like another party the night of the potato thing, and that's where all these guys were, and it happened.
Yeah, I think she was heartbroken about Marcus. I think, and you know what? she was heartbroken. Maybe she was acting out of character. Maybe she did decide to have something to drink that night.
Yeah.
She was really, really hurting from Marcus not getting back together with her, that whole thing. Apparently, he was seeing somebody who was like 18.
Yeah,
She
I heard
was
that.
totally distraught about it. He wouldn't take her back. And I think that she could very well, it was the biggest party night of the year. And maybe she just decided, well, I'm not going home at 11 o'clock from this barbecue and just sitting at home. I'm going to go out and hang out with this younger guy that I've been talking to, Ryan or whatever. And that she did. Maybe they were having a party out at the pecan farm. They were known to do that like a lot. And maybe that's where things went wrong and happened. Maybe
Yeah,
not even at her house.
I was listening to what they said about the house, and it said that it didn't seem like there was a struggle, but didn't they find like a broken lamp and like
Yeah, they did find like the lamp was like askew. There was an alarm clock that was messed up, but supposedly had been that way for a while. I mean, she
I know
had
the one guy found that like necklace clasp that looked like it had been like
yeah,
pulled off, but like I
you
just feel
could
like that's one of those things where you could accidentally do that yourself and it could
could
fall.
be anything, right? Because, she earlier in the day had all the girls for the sweet potato beauty pageant over at her house getting ready that day to
Yeah.
compete. So she probably had like, I don't know, 4 girls, whatever, in her.
Uh-oh. She kicked herself off. Oh, Sarah, they were saying this guy went to help a drunk guy and he said, "I'll carry you home." And we were saying that's like a southern way of saying like I'll drive you home, but they say like I'll carry you home instead. So she was asking Sarah Ann said they say it over there and asking if you guys say it too. Whew. I wonder if her like phone died. You still here, Alexis? Oh, there she is. Aha, you're back.
I don't know what happened.
It's super easy to kick yourself out of StreamYard too. Like I think
Okay.
like the leave button and the mute button are so close together. I've done it a bunch of times.
Oh, got it. Okay. I was like, wait, what just happened? Um,
But yeah,
yeah,
she was a beauty queen and she was getting all the girls ready that day. And she
right,
said she was leaving the barbecue to watch this tape that they never found that either. Like they never
right.
found the tape that she was supposed to watch.
And something else that's funny is that, her car was found in her driveway unlocked, which she never left it unlocked. The seat was pushed back, which I know people always say, oh, the person could have done it themselves, but I don't know. She supposedly the car was always left locked exactly how she had it, and there was $100 bill in her console that one of the girls had given her for making her up for the pageant that day, and it was still sitting in the car. So somebody was stealing drug money from her. I don't know. Wouldn't you think?
They see that $100 in her car. Why wouldn't he just go to her car in the first place that was unlocked rather than break into her house?
Right. And I mean, and it's such a typical movie kind of cliche. Oh, he took a credit card and broke into her. Come on.
Yeah, it
Like
sounds like a made up confession.
wasted drunk, like this just doesn't make any sense at all. It sounds like something that had been rehearsed by he and Bo as what happened. And and I think that Ryan was just naive. He just assumed, well, I mean, this is what I think, because I really don't think he did it, but I think he just assumed, well, your best friend tells you you killed somebody. I mean, you believe your best friend. Why would they lie to you about that?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's gonna be crazy.
And he like your best friend tells you you killed somebody and then he does something so nice for you where he agrees to help get rid of this body on
Right,
his orchard.
right,
You know what I mean? Like he probably felt like he had to like go
Like,
hard
oh,
for his friend too. Like
right,
he did something for
right.
me. I got to make up the story with him.
Right. Like, stick to the story. Don't,
Yeah.
don't screw anything up. Look at what he did for you. And I mean, in the podcast, there's a lot of people later on that talk about Ryan's character, what he's like, and they'll say over and over again, not the most sophisticated person, probably not the most, you know, Bo was very smart. He was smart like a fox. He was sneaky and, whatever. Ryan was not like that,
Yeah, Ryan seemed like.
Bo had
Do you know what
Bo
happened to him at Ranger School?
with who?
They said Ryan like wanted to leave the army after he had really bad anxiety after some incident that happened at Ranger School.
I don't know, but I do know that in the podcast they talk about the fact that he was having terrible, terrible sleep problems, and he was waking up from night terrors. And obviously, I mean, with the thing with Tara, of course,
Yeah.
even if he didn't do it, you're there and you see a human body being burned, and then they did a sleep study on him or whatever. But I don't know of anything that
Yeah,
happened.
he probably had PTSD just from that alone.
Now, one thing that does kind of go against the thing with Ryan, and I don't know if you mentioned this, is that there is record of Ryan reaching out to another teacher of his on Facebook Messenger and saying, hey, what have you been up to? I always thought you were kind of cute, blah, 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 and kind of crushing on another teacher. So, I mean, I guess that doesn't prove anything about him,
No, it just proves that he probably had a relationship with Tara.
Yeah, maybe it proves just the opposite, because people are saying, oh, well, it's awfully convenient now, Ryan saying that he had a relationship with her when nobody knew about this before. Well, I think he had to be hush about it because, she'd been his teacher and she was pretty hush-hush about Anthony Vickers. I think that's probably why she put Heath Dyke's name on there and not Anthony Vickers, because she didn't want anybody to know.
Yeah. It's just weird though. Why wouldn't she just say, never mind, I don't want to file this restraining order?
Right.
But instead she says Heath Dykes instead of Anthony Vickers. Now Anthony Vickers, he was really young.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at his picture and I was like, holy crap, he was really young. He was straight out of high school when they started.
Yeah, and I had no idea that she didn't even put his name on it, that she put Heath Dyke's name on it. That's crazy.
I know. I had to listen to that part 3 times last night because, and then I said to my husband, I'm like, did you hear that? Am I hearing things right? So then I rewound it again and I was like, this makes no sense. Why would Heath Dykes tell her to go get a restraining order against Anthony Vickers? And she goes there, says she doesn't want to say the name because she doesn't want the cop to tell her boyfriend, who promises he won't.
Right.
And then she says Heath Dykes' name. And I'm like, what the hell?
It doesn't, yeah, it does. That doesn't make any sense to me. I didn't catch that when I listened to it one of the 10,000 times, but.
And wasn't Marcus with Heath Dykes on the night that she disappeared?
No, it was Marcus was with that other guy.
Fletcher or Sean something. It's with an F.
I'm hearing an echo. Is that from my phone?
It might be. Do you have YouTube up on your phone?
I might, yeah.
Oh, it's fine. I'm gonna have to hop off anyway because I have to. I gotta leave to go pick my kid up in 15 minutes. I went a little bit longer than I usually do. I gotta go pick him up at school. So.
Yep, and I gotta go pick my car up. But I hope it wasn't echoing like that the whole time. Oh, that would suck.
It doesn't sound like it's echoing. It just sounds like you're a little bit far away, like in a bathroom or something.
Okay. Yeah.
It wasn't like that earlier. It just did for the past 5 minutes.
Okay. No, but what you were talking earlier though about that, the person, Marcus, the night his alibi for the night that happened, that Tara disappeared, was that he was riding around with somebody named Sean Fletcher.
Yeah, that was the cop who took the
yes.
the what's it called?
And he also took the report of the
Anthony
of
Vickers
the
incident.
of the noise or incident or whatever it was that she filed
Where he
or
was screaming outside her house.
yes,
Yeah.
and he wanted to come in and she wouldn't let him in because she had Heath Dykes in the house. Oh man, the tangled
Well,
web.
now it makes sense why he was flipping out.
Yeah, because he was jealous and he knew there was another car, and
Yep.
oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
But I
guys,
should
the trial starts in like 4 days.
yeah,
They're convening the jury on May 4th, I
they,
think, either 3rd or the 4th.
they are and they're I think they're doing like 4D or whatever you say,
Yeah,
right?
voir dire. I don't know how to say it exactly, but it's where you ask the jury questions and they have to fill it out.
Right. Although I don't know though if they with those questions that you were reading aloud earlier, I don't know if that takes care of that already or how that works or if they ask them more questions when they're there and then they do that like prosecution and defense each can strike out certain people like no, it was my mom calling.
Oh.
But I probably better get going. But yeah, I can't believe it's so soon. I'm just like after years and years of waiting. I hope that at least Ryan's defense or somebody has found out a little bit more about what happened that night because I don't know. I still don't think anybody really knows. At
Yeah.
least not anybody that's gonna talk. And that's why it's such a mystery.
Yeah. It
So
sucks
we'll
that a
see.
lot of the evidence is like direct evidence against Ryan. Well, at least the glove. I mean, I don't know if they can prove anything with the glove, just comparing his confession with the glove, but
Yeah. Just the glove that was placed out in front, and I don't know. Who knows? Could Bo have put it on his hand and planted it? Who knows? He's sneaky. You heard that thing that lady saying, "Oh well, that I don't know if she was a legal commentator, just saying that. Oh well, Tara supposedly picked up her dog poop in the backyard with gloves, and
oh yeah.
could he have been wanting to help her pick up dog poop and put his hand in one, who knows? There could be ways that it could have innocently ended up out there, even though the dog was kept in the back and this was found in the front. I don't know. But the only things they really see, well, they have the confession, which they're trying to get thrown out as a false confession. And I could definitely see
That
that
would
being
be
a false
huge.
confession. Yeah, it would be huge. They have the glove. They have that phone call to her house that morning from a payphone
Yeah.
by him, which I suppose I don't know. I don't know what that does or doesn't prove. And I don't know. If there's other evidence, they've kept it really quiet. But I just I don't think that there is. Somebody
Yeah.
was trying to say something about fibers, this and that. One of the people that was on the discussion board that the one that thing that I sent you, the people talking back and forth, that BJ person that claimed
Yeah.
to be in the know and was buddies with Jason Shadell, the head GBI agent. And, oh my
Yeah.
God, whatever. Well, she said, "Oh, there's fibers and this and that," and that she helped track down the truck that was used, the black truck, whatever.
Oh, that would be big too.
That would be interesting. Yep, if they had
Mhm.
evidence from that. So we'll see.
Alrighty. All right. Well,
Anyway,
when it starts, we'll be covering it.
oh
You can
yeah,
come up
yeah.
with me if you want.
This wasn't as nerve-wracking as I thought.
No, it's not that bad. Especially, it's just like having a conversation. I mean, my first
It is.
time, I think, when I went on panel with Kay, and I was nervous as hell because she is like, she had like 1,000 people in there.
Right,
But
right,
it's like a little
exactly.
conversation. It's not bad.
Yeah, you just sit and talk and
Well,
yes,
during the
exactly.
trial, you can come up whenever you want. We can talk about it.
Cool. Yeah, I am gonna be waiting. It's the next couple days is gonna seem like forever, but I don't know. I guess I've waited this long, so
Yeah. All
it'll
right.
it'll be
Well,
here
go get
soon.
your car.
All right, I am.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you for
Bye.
coming.
Thanks, Kate.
See ya. Sorry. Bye, everyone. Thank you for coming. See ya.